What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler, and in today's video we're counting down the top 10 Adidas sneakers that you can grab right now in 2022. So the holidays are upon us, as you can tell by my brightly colored lights in the background. And usually with the holidays there are some pretty insane deals, and right now sneakers are no different. First off, I want to give a huge thank you to Adidas for supporting the channel and sponsoring today's video. Now even though today's video is sponsored by Adidas, all of the shoes on this list are my sneakers, the sneakers that I picked to put on this list. They're in the order that I wanted them to be in, and Adidas didn't really have any say. In fact, they told me to just make some content, and this is the content that I decided to make. So in today's video, I'm going to be counting down the top 10 Adidas sneakers that you can walk into the store and grab right now. And even though this video is in a top 10 format, like from 10 to 1, I only organized this list based on my own personal favorites. All of the shoes on this list are great, and all of the shoes on this list are worth picking up. So if you like a pair of shoes, it's number 10 versus my number 1. Grab the number 10, that's totally fine. It doesn't matter. The order is kind of arbitrary. Now if you do want to grab any of the shoes that I mentioned in today's video, I've made sure to leave a list of them and their affiliate links in the top of the description below. But hey, with all of that out of the way, let's just dive right into it. Starting things off with the honorable mention, we've got the Adidas Superstar. What can I say about the classic shell toe Adidas sneaker that hasn't already been said? This is probably one of the most iconic sneakers ever made. The rubber shell toe on this shoe just gives this shoe its unique look. You've also got the bold Adidas 3 stripes in the midfoot, and it's also an incredibly comfortable shoe, even though it's made up of some pretty strong leather. I feel like this is one of those shoes that everyone's just grown up with. Like you either had a pair growing up, or you still have a pair, or you knew someone who had a pair. And even though this shoe has been around pretty much forever, it's just as popular as it was when it first released, and because of that, it definitely deserves a spot on this list. The reason it's an honorable mention and not higher up on the list is just because it's been out for so long. And it's only 95 bucks, which is not bad for a classic. At number 10 is the Adidas NMD R1 Prime Blue. So as you may have noticed from just looking at this shoe, this is a standard Adidas NMD R1, which is one of the most popular Adidas sneakers of the last decade. However, this shoe does differ from the previous NMD R1 because instead of using Prime Knit on the upper or any kind of mesh, it actually uses Adidas's brand new Prime Blue. Now Prime Blue is crazy because even though it feels just like standard Prime Knit, it's actually made up of recycled plastic bottles, which means not only are you getting a shoe that feels just as good as previous NMD R1s that were made of Prime Knit, but you're actually getting a shoe that recycles plastic bottles and actually helps the environment. And that's one thing I've really admired about Adidas and even just the footwear industry as a whole. It seems like people are really pushing and moving forward innovation in sustainability, and not only reusing materials like plastic that have been previously thrown out, but also creating products that can be remade and reused. And it's crazy to me that a shoe like this, an everyday shoe, the Adidas NMD R1, can use recycled materials and still feel good on foot. Now obviously that has a lot to do with the Boost midsole underfoot, which is incredibly comfortable, and that's also one of my favorite Adidas technologies, Boost. I mean, you guys know back in 2015 when it first came out, everyone was losing their mind about Boost, but it genuinely feels incredible underfoot, and if you haven't tried it yet, well, I'd be surprised if you haven't, but if you haven't, try it. Aesthetically, this shoe is pretty similar to all of the previous Adidas NMD R1s. There haven't been too many visual changes since it first released back in 2016. However, it's a simple and good-looking shoe that's very comfortable underfoot and now uses recycled materials, which I think is awesome. And for a retail price of 150 bucks, and honestly even less if you find a deal, I think the one that I linked in the description below is actually cheaper than 150 bucks, you can grab a great shoe for a great price. At number 9 is the Adidas Samba. Coming in just in time for the World Cup, actually that's not true, the shoe has been around forever, the Adidas Samba is one of the most classic and worn soccer shoes of all time. And there's a reason why the Samba has been one of the most incredibly popular sneakers out there, and the reason is, it just looks great. I mean, you can't really go wrong with the Samba. It usually features a gum outsole, which if you guys know me, you know I love gum outsoles for whatever reason. The upper of the shoe also usually comes in either leather or suede, and then you usually have a suede mudguard, and of course, you've got the iconic Adidas 3 stripes on the midfoot. And something else that's great about this shoe is that because the silhouette has been out for so long, it comes in a ton of different great colors, so really no matter what colorway you're looking for, you can find it in the Samba. And the best part is you can grab a pair of Sambas right now for just 100 bucks. Next up at number 8 is the Adidas Ozelia. This shoe mixes some classic and retro inspiration with some modern styling, and when this shoe comes in a totally monochromatic look, it's a wild looking sneaker. For me, the reason that I like this shoe so much is because of that dad shoe vibe that it's got going on. It's chunky, it's bold, but it's definitely toned down because of the colorways that this shoe comes in. And while it definitely has a 700 or 500 even vibe to it, it definitely stands on its own because it's got its own shape and its own unique personality to it, which I know is weird to say about a sneaker, but it genuinely seems like its own unique thing. This is the kind of shoe I could see myself rocking with a pair of like baggy sweats. I also really like the reflective Adidas 3 stripes in the midfoot. It keeps the shoe looking subtle during the daytime, but then when you hit that shoe with the flash at night, it just pops. Also, the shoe is made up of 20% recycled materials, and it comes in at an insane price point of just $100, and right now you can actually grab pairs on Adidas' website for $85. Number 7, the Adidas 4D Futurecraft. So this shoe first released back in 2018, and at that time it was one of the only 3D printed shoes available on the market. In fact, to my knowledge, it was the only fully 3D printed midsole shoe available. And as a 3D printer nerd, I was absolutely drawn to this sneaker. Not just the way it looks, because I think it looks incredible. It definitely has some design inspiration from the Ultra Boost, but also because the midsole itself felt pretty great underfoot, even though it was a brand new technology. So the upper of the shoe is made up almost entirely of prime knit, which feels incredible on your feet. It actually kind of feels like a sock on top of your sock. And then underneath that, you've got the marquee detail, the 4D midsole, or 3D printed midsole, which you would think would be a little bit stiffer than it actually is, but it does offer a lot of responsiveness. And if you actually pull out the insole, a little life hack here, if you pull out the insole, there's just a mesh between your foot and the 3D printed midsole, so you get this crazy airflow underneath your foot, and it just makes the entire shoe an incredibly breathable experience. Plus, in my opinion, the shoe looks incredible. I get so many questions about this shoe and like, how does it feel on foot? And oh my gosh, you're wearing a 3D printed shoe. It's super, super cool. And while this is not the only 3D printed shoe on the list, this is kind of like the OG. Now, for $200, this shoe is definitely not cheap, but if you're a fan of 3D printing and you like the way this shoe looks, I would definitely recommend it because it really is a unique experience. Number 6, the Adidas Ultra Boost DNA 5.0. Since the Ultra Boost first released back in 2015, it's been one of my favorite sneaker silhouettes of all time. Not only because for a long time it was the most comfortable shoe available on the market, but also because I just love the way the sneaker looked. And the Ultra Boost DNA 5.0 is the latest iteration of the lifestyle version of the Adidas Ultra Boost, or I guess the newest version of the original Ultra Boost. And even though this is an older model or older version of the Adidas Ultra Boost, I still love the way the sneaker looks, and it still feels amazing underfoot. And that of course is due to the incredible Boost midsole, which back in 2015, like I said, was mind-blowing, and now in 2022, still feels great underfoot. Adidas has kind of topped themselves with even thicker Boost midsoles than what this shoe has, but it still feels amazing. And then of course the entire upper of the shoe is made up of prime knit, which like I just said for the Adidas 4D Futurecrafts feels like a sock on top of your sock. I absolutely love it. So not only is it an incredibly comfortable experience, but in my opinion it might be one of the best looking Adidas sneakers ever made. And it comes in a ton of different colorways, so no matter what color you're looking for, you can usually find it on a pair of Ultra Boosts. They also have some Ultra Boosts with crazy patterns, which I'm gonna be honest, I'm not as crazy about, but some people are into them. I just like the more standard looking shoes. For $190, the Ultra Boost DNA 5.0 is definitely not cheap, but you can pretty easily find pairs on sale, which I absolutely recommend looking for. Number 5, the Adidas Stan Smith. This is one of the most iconic Adidas shoes of all time. Whenever I think of Adidas, I think of Stan Smith. Not the guy, weirdly enough, the shoe. But I think of the face on the back of the shoe, so sort of the guy. This iconic shoe comes in a litany. It's a great word. A litany of great colorways that are super easy to find on Adidas' website because they have like a million of them. In fact, right now on their website, in just this particular Stan Smith style, they have 28 different colors. What I love most about this shoe is the simplicity and minimalism of this shoe with that little pop of color on the heel and on the tongue. And of course, you can't forget the perforated Adidas 3 stripes on the midfoot. It all comes together to create a shoe that everyone recognizes. And actually, while this shoe does retail usually for $100, you can find colorways on adidas.com right now for just $85. Number 4, the Adidas Ultra Boost 22. So as you may have been able to gather from the name of this shoe, this is the latest iteration in the Adidas Ultra Boost line. The Ultra Boost 22 is one of Adidas' top-of-the-line performance running sneakers and features an insanely thick Boost midsole. I mean, the Ultra Boost DNA 5.0 had a pretty thick Boost midsole, but the Boost in the Ultra Boost 22 is absolutely out of this world. And because of that, you get an insanely soft cushion underfoot, which feels amazing. And when you pair that with the prime knit upper, this shoe is one of the most comfortable shoes that Adidas makes. As far as actually running in this sneaker, I would say that the Ultra Boost 22 is definitely more of a cushion heavy sneaker, so if you're looking for a very soft and bouncy ride, this is a great way to go. If you're looking for some more ground feel, maybe the Ultra Boost 22 is not the move, but it's one of those shoes that in my opinion is not only a great running sneaker, but it's also a pretty decent looking lifestyle sneaker as well. And if you're looking for an insanely soft cushion and that's your main goal from your sneakers, the Ultra Boost 22 is a great way to go. Now, like the Ultra Boost DNA 5.0, the price point of this shoe is definitely on the higher end at $190, but honestly, in my opinion, it's worth it, and you can even grab some of the Ultra Boost 21s from last year and get a similar experience for a cheaper price. At number 3, the Adidas 4D Forward 2. So this is another 3D printed shoe from Adidas, and in my opinion, this is like the best 3D printed shoe that you can buy. Obviously, only the midsole of the 4D Forward is 3D printed, but I've got to say it's one of the most technologically advanced and also insane looking 3D printed printed midsoles I've ever seen. So the reason for this sort of lattice structure design in the midsole of the sneaker is that when you step into the shoe and put pressure on the midsole, it actually kind of propels you forward. Like, it almost feels like it's boosting you forward, especially when you're running. And actually the 4D Forwards design is a lot softer underfoot than the 4D Futurecraft because the lattice is actually a little bit wider, which allows for more compression, and the material that they're using to print with, I think, is actually also softer than the 4D Futurecrafts. In addition to that, the shoe also features a textile upper, which is not as soft on foot as Primeknit. However, it does offer the same sock-like fit, and it actually gives you a little bit more structure. So this is definitely more of a running sneaker than the 4D Futurecraft is. But personally, even though the shoe is technically a running sneaker, I do find it to be more comfortable than the 4D Futurecraft because that midsole is just so much softer underfoot. And of course, you can't forget about the insane looking aesthetic of the sneaker. That 3D printed midsole makes this shoe look like it's from another planet. It's crazy. Like the 4D Futurecraft, the price point of this shoe is $200, which is definitely on the higher end, but if you're a fan of like future tech and 3D printing, you're gonna love this shoe because it feels great and it looks insane. At number 2 is the Adidas Forum. So this shoe actually comes in 3 different cuts. You've got a high top, a mid top, and a low top. And personally, while I love the mid top of this shoe the most, which is kind of crazy because with a lot of other shoe brands, the mids tend to be the shoes that people care about the least, I do really like the Adidas Forum lows because it's the kind of shoe that you can throw on all year round and wear with shorts or with jeans. So I kind of have a thing for 80s basketball sneakers. They're my favorite type of sneakers. And I think what I love about these shoes is the relative simplicity of the design. I still think that they look great and they've got a lot of interesting paneling going on in the upper, but they're not overcomplicated, and I love the fact that most of these shoes are made of leather. And so personally, if I had to pick one pair of Adidas sneakers to wear forever, it would probably be a pair of Adidas Forums because you can dress them up, you can dress them down, they look great, they're very clean, and they come in a ton of different colorways. Plus, Adidas also does a lot of collaborations on the Forum silhouette. In fact, they're dropping a Grinch colorway in the next couple days. It's just a super clean looking shoe that I love the design of. It's not overcomplicated, I love the materials, it comes in a bunch of different colors, and it's super easy to wear. As far as price point, the Adidas Forum starts at $100 for the Adidas Forum Low. Actually, right now on Adidas's website, you can grab some pairs for $88, which is pretty insane. And I think the price point goes all the way up to $150, depending on whether it's like a special edition version of the shoe. At number 1 is the Adidas NMD S1. In my opinion, the NMD S1 is the latest and greatest from Adidas. It's one of their newest silhouettes, and it comes in a ton of different colorways, styles, and even collaborations, and it's incredibly comfortable and looks amazing. So as you could probably tell, this shoe is an updated take on the Adidas NMD silhouette, and it features a lot of technological improvements that make it a more comfortable and honestly better looking shoe overall. First of all, you've got an insanely thick boost midsole, which feels amazing underfoot. You guys should know that by now. I've talked about all the boost in all these other shoes and how great they feel. But the nice thing about this boost is that it's actually encased by a thin rubber sidewall, which means when you stand in this shoe or even run in this shoe, it's not going to feel unstable. Like, it's not going to compress too much and you're not really going to slide around. It's going to give you a little bit more stability on the sides of the shoe. The upper of this shoe comes in a very sock-like and incredibly breathable Primeknit upper that also features these little like side windows on the midfoot, which I really like the way that they look because they show off your socks and they also make the shoe a lot more breathable. And visually, I just love the way that the NMD S1 looks. It's a very modern style that ties in sort of a sporty aesthetic with a sort of fashiony aesthetic. I don't know, high fashion aesthetic. I don't really know what I'm trying to say here, but it's a great looking sneaker and it's very easy to rock. Plus, they just dropped the Ramoa collab, which unfortunately is now sold out, but it's one of the cleanest collabs that Adidas has done in a very long time. I know that a lot of people will say that the Bad Bunny Forums are their favorite collab, but in my opinion, this is my favorite. I think it's a great looking shoe and I wear it all the time. As far as price point, the NMD S1 is definitely the most expensive shoe on the list at $250, but in my opinion, it's worth the price if you can find a pair because they're very popular and actually pretty difficult to find. But hey, that pretty much wraps up my list for today. I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and as always, I'll see you all in the next one.